It's Tuesday, March 26th, Wednesday, March 27th, if you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Support this show by going shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Nsuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the Nsuho banner, and subscribe today. We've often heard the stories in the field of conspiracy and ufology about this hidden alien agenda involving reptilians and humans. Is it true? Is there anything about it, or is it just some made-up fallacy to help exaggerate some sort of hidden government? Len Kasten, author and researcher of many UFO and alien topics, joins us tonight. The former NICAP and MUFON member has a book out called The Secret Journey of Planet Serpo, which shows how the alleged story of President Eisenhower's treaty with the gray aliens signed at Holloman Air Force Base in 1954, which gave the aliens authority to abduct humans for research, and how the reptilians have created alien-human hybrids under their control to replace the human population. Do you buy it? We're getting into it tonight. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. My good friend, Len Kasten. First time on this show. I got to meet you last year at UFOCon in San Francisco, and it was an extreme pleasure to actually get to meet someone of your stature in this community. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. What a pleasure on our part.
My pleasure, Dave. It's nice to be with you.
Absolutely. It's great to have you along with it as well. Now, Len, before we get too deep into this entire field, I always like my listeners to learn about you, because although you've been doing this for a long, long time, there's still a few people out there who may not know who Len Kasten is. How did you get involved with UFO research?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think I know myself. I did have an experience while I was in the Air Force that I think had something to do with it. And the more I think about that experience, even though it was a long time ago, I think it had a lot to do with it. And the reason for that is that I can't piece all the pieces together somehow. I was in my room in the barracks in the Air Force, and I was only about 2 weeks away from finally finishing out my enlistment. And something made me wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and run to the window. And that's the part that I still don't comprehend, is why I would wake up at 3 in the morning and then run to the window. I had no reason to do that. I had no reason to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And when I got to the window, I looked out, and there was a thing going right by, almost at eye level, silently, glowing green and gold, phosphorescent, but moving like a bat out of hell, and it was heading out over the Gulf of Mexico. And I pressed up my nose up against the window and watched it until it disappeared way out over the Gulf of Mexico. And scratched my head and then went back to sleep. My roommate didn't stir, so it had nothing. He had no reason to even look out the window. But what I'm still trying to dope out is, I can understand why I might wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I can't understand why I would suddenly run to the window at that point. Anyway, I went back to sleep, and the next morning the tower operators came in, the midnight shift, and they were all chatting about something that happened, that they had some UFOs on the radar last night. I said, well, what's a UFO? I had no idea what a UFO was. And they said, well, unidentified flying object. They said they were right over the end of the runway. I said, really? I said, I saw something coming from the end of the runway last night at 3 o'clock in the morning. There might be some connection there. they said, well, why don't you go report it to the UFO office? I said, oh, okay, what's a UFO office? I had no idea. Anyway, I found out, and I did, and I went over there. And I didn't know what to expect. There was a captain sitting there with about a 10-page questionnaire. And he took everything I told him very seriously. And he figured out, he said, when did you first see it? And when did you see it disappear? And how much time elapsed? And I told him, he said, well, he did some calculations. He said, hey, that's about 6,000 miles an hour. He said, that checks. He said, that checks. I said, it checks against what? He said, never mind. And anyway, I found that encounter fascinating. Then I went back to the barracks and back to my job. And the next day, I got very sick. And I was in very good shape then. I didn't get sick very often, but this thing really knocked me out. And I was on my back, and if I had to go to the base hospital, it was much more serious than the flu. I mean, I've had the flu, and this was more debilitating than the flu. And they kept me there for 3 days in the hospital. And I told them that all I really wanted was grapefruit juice. I said, just give me a lot of grapefruit juice. I said, I think I'm going to be all right. So they kept bringing that in, and I guess I needed the vitamin C because my immune system must have been compromised somehow. Anyway, that was the end of it. And I found out much later. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, I was finished with my enlistment. So I went back to civilian life. And I forgot all about it. I forgot all about it for about 2 years. And during that 2-year period, I was moved to join NICAP, which was very popular at that time, and MUFON, and get interested in UFOs. And so that event must have had it must have caused some of that interest. It would seem so, because up until that point, I never had any interest in UFOs or anything like extraterrestrials. And I was working in Washington at that time for IBM. Had a good job. I was doing systems analysis work for the government, and working for IBM. And I found the contacts I made through NICAP to be fascinating. The head of NICAP at that time in Washington was a guy named Larry. Can't think of his name now, but he was well known in the UFO community. And the head of it was Admiral Hillenkoetter, who used to be the head of the CIA. So they were very serious about this. And I got more and more into it and started going to meetings, and that's how it all started. That was the beginning of everything.
Do you look back on that incident while you were in the Air Force that maybe you were taken that night because your roommate didn't get up, yet you felt this urge to go look out the window?
As I've thought back on it many times, I've now come to the conclusion that I was definitely taken up into the craft. And that's the reason I got sick. Because very frequently, people who are abducted do get sick. Because being in an alien environment for some reason, their immune system just can't take it. And so that would explain that. Now, the only other question I have is, why did I run to the window? That's the question I cannot understand. What would motivate me waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to run to the window? And the only thing I can think of is that at that moment they had just dumped me back into my bed. And that's what woke me up. And I must have known at some level that the reason I was bumped back into my bed is because I had been somewhere. And so it makes sense. It makes sense. But I don't have the answers because I have never been hypnotized. But that's on my agenda still. I do want to get hypnotized and get to the bottom of it.
And I was just going to ask that. Is that something you need to know? Is that something that is one of those burning questions that after all these years continues to light your fire about learning about the UFO agenda, the alien agenda, the government conspiracy of it all? Yes,
it is. I definitely need to know what happened that night. The longer time elapses, the more I'm fascinated in learning about what happened. So I am looking for a good hypnotist, and I do want to go under and get that explored, because I know something interesting is going to come out of that, but I don't know exactly what.
Had you ever been taken since then, or had
No.
UFO experiences since?
No, but I've had many friends that have had it. And while I was living in Connecticut, I knew people that had lost a lot of time and lost, and who probably were taken. And I got into the UFO world and started going to all the conferences, especially the ones in Connecticut, because I was living in Connecticut at that time. And a guy, an author named John White, was holding conferences in the Hartford area. And that's where I really got into it big time.
Wow, that's kind of interesting. So this kind of became a very big life path for you. What made you join NICAP and then eventually MUFON?
Well, the guy that ran NICAP at that time was Larry. I can't think of his last name. But he was a conspiracy theorist, and he was convinced that they were from another planet. And the more I talked with him, the more interested I got. And the guy had so much information that it was hard to just walk away and say he's crazy. So that's really what got me going, I'm pretty sure. Because certainly nobody at IBM was interested. I used to bring up the subject occasionally at work, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. So I didn't say a word more about it at work.
Try working in a newsroom when you bring up the UFO topic.
I know.
You know, I always laugh, Len, because, you know, and you've heard the stories too. You've been around the game long enough where you get those people out there who are saying, well, every newsroom has a government agent working in there saying what can and cannot go on the air. And I'm laughing at that one because I know how news people work when the UFO stories come in, or the ghost stories, or the Bigfoot stories. It's hilarious, you know, the way a newsroom acts when those stories come in. It's all about making fun of people and never putting it on the air, rather than taking it seriously. So you must have had the exact same thing working at a power firm like IBM.
Yeah. Of course, the tendency is to get ridiculed. Absolutely. And so I never told anybody at IBM about it. And I just started going to the NICAP meetings and talking to the NICAP people, and I started to meet some very, very interesting people. At that moment in history, with Admiral Hillenkoetter, who was the ex-director of the CIA in charge of NICAP, that made a big difference. This guy knew a lot, having been the head of the CIA. And so, as a matter of fact, you might be interested to learn that we do have spaceships now, you know. I don't know whether you know that or not. Did you know that the U.S. does have spaceships?
Well, I have dabbled a little bit in the secret space program, and we've had Michael Schratt on the show a number of times talking about that. Olaf Phillips.
Michael's a good friend of mine.
Yes. Yeah, I was so excited last year because I didn't expect him to be at UFO Con last year, and then I saw him talking with Melinda Leslie, and I tell you, Len, I've never geeked out so bad in my life. I was like a young girl going to a New Kids on the Block concert because I just love Michael's work, you know. And
Michael's fantastic. Michael's fantastic. I'll tell you a little story about Michael as we go along. By the way, Melinda is great. I love her.
Yeah,
and she's got info. She's got some information that nobody else has. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, let me finish the story about Admiral Hillenkoetter.
Please do.
The reason that's significant is because we do have several spaceships now out there. They're huge, okay? And one of the name of one of them is Admiral Hillenkoetter. So, and by the way, even then, way back then, he argued with the government for releasing UFO information. Even then, having worked for the CIA, so he knew a lot at that point, and he wanted it revealed. And so we've gone so far. His reputation has gone so far as that we have now named one of our spaceships after him. I thought you might find that interesting. I thought your listeners might find that.
Where are they parking all of these ships? Because you can say that they're parked up on the moon or in Mars, but eventually they got to come get people, whether it's soldiers, whether it's workers, scientists, whomever it may be. Where is this happening?
Okay, the ships themselves, the smaller ones, used to be built on the submarine beds in New London because they were about the size of submarines, of nuclear submarines. But now we have them. They're so large that they're being built in Utah, at the base of the Wasatch Mountains, underground. And there's a whole city underground in Utah. I've heard the number was around 36,000 workers that are building them there. And there was an incident that occurred, I guess it was about 5 years ago, where a hiker near the Wasatch Mountains in Utah was hiking, and he was sitting out in the desert when the whole desert started to open up, and these huge doors opened up, and a spaceship came up through the doors, and he reported the incident, and he said it was huge. It was like the size of 2 football fields. Of course, everybody made fun of him, and everybody forgot it. But I didn't forget it. I just put it into my memory and etched it in there, and sure enough, now it all fits. And that's where they're building the ships that belong to a fleet of U.S.-based spaceships that are called Solar Warden. That's the name.
Michael has talked about that on here as well as Olaf Phillips. How do we find out more about that program? I mean, that would be way, way levels above top secret, would it not?
Yeah, very definitely. And that's why when Gary McKinnon in England hacked into that conversations, he hacked into conversations about Solar Warden, and they were talking about admirals that were on extra non-terrestrial ships. And of course, we wanted to prosecute him and have him sent to the United States, but he managed to evade being exported. So he's still okay. And anyone who's interested in learning more about Solar Warden should definitely look into Gary McKinnon. Just Google that.
For sure. Len Kasten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 5 minutes before we got to go to break, Len. In regards to the secret space program, and now that you've piqued my interest with this, you then believe that we already do have bases on the moon, potentially bases on Mars or other planets or moons in our solar system.
Yes, I do. The evidence is clear now, but we're not really in charge of those bases. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I have to tell you that those bases are now German. They were built by the Germans. They were started by the Germans and the Nazis, and we are guests. We are guests at their facilities. Let me put it that way. We do have a base on Mars, and we do have a base on the moon, but the Nazis have the huge facilities on both places. So they tolerate us because they know they have to, because we work with them here in Antarctica. All the corporations work together in Antarctica. So, but they're in charge. They're in charge, and that's the subject of my new book.
Well, we will get into your new book a little bit later, but we brought you on tonight to talk in regards to the reptilian agenda, and I want to start shifting there because after our break here in a couple minutes, I do want to start getting into that. You took a look in your Project Serpo book in regards to the Eisenhower incident back at, was it Holloman Air Force Base back then in 1954? Yeah. Right. How real do you think that story is?
Absolutely real. Absolutely. What he thought were extraterrestrials were really reptilians. And the deal they made was one that allowed the reptilians to continue to abduct humans. And Eisenhower went along with it because of the technology that they gave us. They were not from a distant planet. They were from below the Earth. They were from underground on this planet.
So that would mean we have a hollow Earth, in your opinion?
The word I use is honeycombed. I don't use the word hollow because hollow implies that it's completely hollow in there. It's not. It's honeycombed within the crust, but the crust goes down many, many miles, 100 to 200 miles down. And the reptilians are very, very comfortable there because they're used to it. They've done this on many planets and in many other solar systems. So for them, it's not a stretch to live underground. But they know they can't come up and show themselves because they look so different. So they stay there. But they have tremendous power. Tremendous.
So in regards to these reptilians, what about the story about Eisenhower meeting with a humanoid type of alien group before signing this deal, which was humans and animals for technology?
Yeah, the first meeting he had was with human aliens who wanted him to. This happened in when he was playing golf and he was taken to the base Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California, and he invited many other people, including somebody from the Vatican, to that meeting. And the aliens were very human-looking, and they wanted him to give up nuclear weaponry, in return for which they promised that they would give us technology that would blow our minds. And when Eisenhower put it to the generals and to the officers, they said no. At that point, which was also in 1954, there was too much danger, and the military did not want to give up nuclear weapons at that point. So we had to say no. But the next meeting that took place with the reptilians, the deal was so inviting. The technology they were promising us was so amazing. And all they wanted to do was abduct a few humans and study them, so they said, which was all baloney, of course. And they would give us anti-gravity technology and the works. So he said yes to that. And so it was after that they started abducting for real. And, of course, they broke every agreement they ever made with us. They started abducting huge numbers of people.
Len, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we're going to continue the talk about President Eisenhower, aliens, the reptilian agenda. It's going to be good. Coming up here on Spaced Out Radio, Len Kasten is our guest. We'll have more right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi, George and Ori here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thanks for coming along for the ride on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. Remember, a good way to support this show is by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com, clicking on the shop tab. We got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, socks, you name it, we got it. Pick up a coffee mug. Picking up the SOR swag is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis, and we sure do appreciate it. Tonight we are talking with Len Kasten. He is a longtime author and researcher in the field of ufology, and we're talking about the reptilian agenda tonight. Before we get into that, Mr. Kasten, welcome back to the show.
Nice to be with you, Dave.
We were right before the break talking about the Eisenhower meeting with extraterrestrials. And right before that, though, we were talking about Michael Schratt, who's been on this show a few times now, talking about the secret space program. You quickly wanted to share a story about Michael.
Now, when I wrote my first book was titled Secret History of Extraterrestrials. And the content of that book, before I wrote that book, I had written about 50 articles for Atlantis Rising magazine, published articles. And a lot of those articles were on extraterrestrials and UFOs and so forth. And the publisher said, when the publisher read those articles, they said, let's just make the book these articles. So we selected 26 articles together, and that became the book. And one of the articles was about a friend of mine in Connecticut named Tony Gonsalves. I don't know if you've ever heard of his name, have you?
Not the football player.
No. Okay. Tony had been in the Navy, and he'd worked on an aircraft carrier, and his job on the aircraft carrier was maintaining, he was called a plane captain, which meant that he was in charge of all of the repairs and all of the maintenance on a single plane, one plane. He was the captain of all the repairs on that plane, even though he was not himself an officer. And so Tony got to know a lot about how planes fly during that experience. And he was on a cruise in the Mediterranean, and he had a good career in the Navy. When I met him, of course, he was a veteran, as was I. I was an Air Force veteran. He was a Navy veteran, and we became very good friends. And Tony was an amazing guy. He was so meticulous in everything he did that he could literally study something and put it together in a matter of days, perhaps. He built furniture that way. He did everything. He even built his own sailboat in his backyard. I watched every piece of it go up because I was a good friend. We were good friends. And Tony used to have episodes of missing time, and he was a great believer in UFOs. And so we talked a lot about that. And he would have episodes of missing time, and I knew about them. And he feels he was abducted during those episodes. In any case, around that time there was a book published called Night Siege. Have you heard of that book?
No, I have not.
Night Siege? I can't remember the name of the author. It was about the UFO sightings in the Hudson Valley that were going on at that time. Up and down the Hudson Valley, hundreds and perhaps thousands of people were seeing these things at night, only at night. And they would move slowly up and down over the Hudson, and no noise, and just a dark thing would blot out the moon, blot out the stars, and there were a lot of reports, hundreds of reports about these things, and of course everybody thought they were UFOs. And there was an Air Force base in upstate New York that they perhaps were perhaps checking out. So that became the going theory, that they were extraterrestrials and they were checking out our Air Force, our installations. Well, Tony read the book once, then he read it again, twice, then he read it a third time. And after he read it the third time, he slapped it down. He said, "Wait a minute. These are not these are not UFOs. There are craft." He said, as somebody who had been in the Navy, knew all about airplanes, he was very convinced that these were under anti-gravity control, but they were ours. And he made a case for it. And he started writing articles about it and giving talks about it all over New England. And then he decided to make a model of the people who saw these craft said that they were about a football field in length, which would be, 100 yards or 300 feet long. In some cases, they said they were even longer. And they were silent, utterly silent. And all the reports were the same. So Tony was convinced that what they were seeing was our craft, and we had anti-gravity technology. And he started giving lectures and talking about it. And when I wrote the article about him, I said that I was inclined to believe him because he was such a meticulous observer and analyst that in everything he did, that I began to believe that was definitely the case. And of course, a lot of the observers said they were shaped like triangles. They were triangular. And now we know that the TR-3B is triangular. But at that time, nobody believed him that we could be building craft like that. And the reason that we were doing it was we wanted to see if they could be passed off as UFOs. We wanted to know if the people that observed them really believed that they were UFOs. That was the reason for it. And so Tony started giving talks and writing about his theory. And then after he got bored with that, he went on to something else. Tony got bored easily, and he went on to, he decided he was going to start collecting, he was going to starting a parrot zoo of his own. These are the kinds of things he did. Anyway, so that's the story of Tony Gonsalves. And it's been many, many years since I've seen Tony, and now he's passed away. He passed away about 5 years ago. I've talked to his wife since then and his children, and we remain good friends. Well, one day I got a call from Michael Schratt, who had read my book and had read that particular chapter, and he wanted to meet with me and talk about Tony. He wanted every piece of information I could give him about Tony. And knowing Michael, how meticulous he was and how careful he was, I knew that he had good reason. And he was amazed that Tony could have found that out at that early stage, and he had to know more about Tony in order to complete his investigation. And he now is definitely convinced that Tony, of course, that they really were American craft. They were perhaps B-2 bombers or triangular American craft. And so Tony was right. He was up against a lot of opposition at the time, but Michael, in retrospect, realized that Tony was really onto something. And so that's an interesting sidelight I thought you might want to know about, Michael.
Well, I know Michael has totally impressed me on this show, and I've always told him, I said, anytime you want to come on, you just let me know. Usually I feel like I'm begging every time I ask him to come on the show, but man, is he meticulous with his work.
He is very meticulous, and he's a very good artist. He's a very good draftsman. And if he says something, you know he's explored it thoroughly. So
absolutely. You're not the only one to tell me that. You're not the only one to say that. In regards to getting back to the alien agenda and the meeting with Eisenhower, where allegedly he met with reptilian aliens or greys reptilians dressed as greys in order to trade humans for technology. You're a believer in this story. Why do you believe this happened?
Well, there's no question that it happened. I mean, it was right after that all the abductions began, for real, and they were not necessarily reported. And hundreds of people, thousands of people all over the world were being abducted. So it was because Eisenhower gave them permission. They had to get permission. They were not going to do it without permission. That's the way they operate. They had a signed contract by him. Now, in my new book, I go over Eisenhower's speech very carefully. And if you go back and reread that speech that he gave in 1960, as Kennedy was taking over as president, that was his farewell speech. You do know that, right? That was Eisenhower's farewell speech in 1960. And what else was happening in 1960? At the very same time, as Eisenhower was giving that speech and more or less giving us big, broad hints about the Nazis taking over our aerospace industries, at that very time, Wernher von Braun was sitting down and taking over the desk at the Marshall Space Flight Center, and he became the head of NASA. So now, can you put those two facts together? How did von Braun, who nobody doubts his brilliance, nobody doubts his experience in rocketry, he was Mr. Rocketry. But why is America putting an ex-Nazi, and he was an officer, by the way, in the SS, why are we putting him in charge of our space program? The reason was in the speech that Eisenhower gave. And if you put the two things together, you'll begin to see the story. Von Braun was put there because the Germans who came here through Operation Paperclip had basically taken over America's aerospace program. I know that's a very strange claim, but I've done the research and I know I'm right about it.
Would someone above Eisenhower at that time made that decision?
Of course. And who would that have been?
Rockefellers?
No.
I don't know.
It was Dulles, Allen Dulles, the head of the CIA. He was a Nazi sympathizer since the 50s, and his brother was the Secretary of State. So between the two of them, he was the head of the CIA, and John Foster Dulles was the head of the State Department. And they both had Nazi sympathies. In fact, in 1933, they worked for a law firm in New York City called, it was a very well-known law firm. And one of the assignments that they went on was to go to Germany and to meet with Adolf Hitler and to help him finance his campaign to become the Chancellor of Germany. They were both involved in that operation, believe it or not. And now here, one of them is Secretary of State, and the other one is the head of the CIA.
Scary.
Now, do you have any other reason to wonder about how von Braun got into that position? It's pretty clear.
Well, it did propel NASA into new heights, no pun intended.
No, it didn't. It didn't. NASA put the brakes on all the research. His job was to slow the research down to a crawl, while the Germans had already reached the moon and Mars and had settled on the moon and Mars, and were running. They were running operations from their base on the moon as early as 1942, while von Braun in 1960 was slowing down our space program deliberately. But he did have to give in to Kennedy, and he did go along with the man on the moon scenario, and we did send guys to the moon because Kennedy insisted on it. It was Kennedy that pushed that. It wasn't von Braun. Von Braun agreed to Kennedy's desire to do that and worked with him on it. But it wasn't von Braun that motivated that journey to the moon. It was Kennedy.
Right. We got about 7 minutes here before we got to go to break. At the top of the hour, Len Kasten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking about the reptilian agenda. Now, these reptilians that allegedly met with President Eisenhower, you mentioned that they come from the honeycomb Earth, and
originally they did come from another solar system. They
right.
came from Draco.
How long, Len, had they been on this planet? Because if you go back millennia, there is artifacts and, wall art showing and depicting alien craft, UFOs, reptilians. aliens. So how far back have they been here, in your opinion?
At least 100,000 years, perhaps more. They came here before we did. They were the original settlers of this planet. And they were living on the surface. And they were living in a continent called Lemuria. And they had the whole show to themselves. In fact, they brought the dinosaurs with them from Draco because they used them as a food source. So that's how the dinosaurs got here in the first place. Because they arrived here in global spaceships that were the size of planets, and they could bring all of their food sources with them, which they did. And so they were here first. There were no humans on this planet when they got here. I believe it was about 150,000 years ago. There were humans in the solar system, but not on this planet. There were humans on Mars, and there were humans on a planet called Maldek, which was between Mars and Jupiter at that time. It was a huge planet that is now turned into the asteroid belt. But those were the only humans here when they got here, but there were none on this planet.
Maldek is where it's alleged the Sasquatch came from, too.
Really? I didn't know that. I did not know that.
I've heard that from a number of people.
It was a huge planet. It's very large. And they were all humans settled on there. And the reason the humans got here in the first place was because they were refugees from Lyra, which the reptilians destroyed. The reptilians destroyed 2 planets in Lyra and forced the humans in Lyra to seek refuge elsewhere in the solar system, in the galaxy. And that's how they got here in the first place. So they were living on Mars. They were living on Mars. Yes. They were living on Maldek. Right.
So when it comes to driving or flying the dinosaurs to populate Earth here 100,000 years ago, that goes against everything that carbon dating has proven scientifically.
Yeah, I don't believe the dinosaurs started out in 65 million years ago. I don't believe that. I think the carbon dating is incorrect. The carbon dating is notoriously erroneous, and it is possible that the reptilians came here that early, but my knowledge, from my information is that they came here about 150 to 200,000 years ago. They have been roaming the galaxy for hundreds of thousands of years. They've had space technology for hundreds of thousands of years. They are probably the oldest race in the solar system. So when they came here and settled in Lemuria, nobody could dispute their claim to that continent. However, there was another continent that came out of the water, and that continent was called Atlantis. So we have to talk about that next.
Well, we can get into it right now. We got about 3 minutes before we got to go to break. How does Atlantis tie into all of this?
Well, the humans that had to scatter throughout the galaxy to start new civilizations wherever they went, they kept in touch with each other, and they became known as the Federation. 110 different human colonies were settled all over the galaxy, and they became known as what we now call the Federation. And they were not going to allow the reptilians to take over the solar system. They decided at a very high level, because they all had space travel technology at that point, and they decided they were not going to allow them to take over this solar system, because it was the reptilians that destroyed Maldek. They had the technology through their global spaceships to point a weapon at a planet and destroy the planet. And after that happened, the Federation decided they were going to contest the reptilians' ownership of the solar system. So they sent a very fierce race of humans. They were originally from Lyra, but they were living on Mars. And they were fighters. They sent them to this planet, and they settled on Atlantis. They were called the Atlans, A-T-L-A-N-S, and that's where the name Atlantis comes from. So now we had reptilians on Lemuria and we had humans on Atlantis, and needless to say, the wars broke out. And they were fierce wars. And the reptilians were getting the worst of it because the Atlanteans had tremendous technology and tremendous weaponry, and they forced the reptilians underground. They had to go underground. And the Atlans took over the surface through Atlantis. And the golden age of Atlantis, which was about 50,000 years ago, was unbelievable. Unbelievable, because it was a human civilization. They were highly spiritually evolved. They had tremendous technology, and they were not going to allow any reptilians to dwell in this solar system. And as a matter of fact, they actually had wars on the moon as well, between the reptilians and the Martians, between the humans and the Atlans. And that's what forced the reptilians underground. But they didn't mind that because they had done this on many planets before. They knew how to develop an underground civilization, and they built a huge civilization underground. And they had a capital city under the Indian subcontinent, and that's where they stayed, and that's where they are now.
Len, we've got about 20 seconds here before we go to break, so I'm going to get you to hold on here for just a little bit here because we're getting into some very, very heavy stuff with the Reptilian Agenda. Author Len Kasten is our guest tonight on the Mighty SOR, and you can go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, find his books. I highly suggest you do. You can check them on out. There are a number of them. Alien World Order. The Reptilian Plan to Divide and Conquer the Human Race. Secret Journey to Planet Serpo. The Secret History of Extraterrestrials. Go check them on out. Well worth the read. More Len Kasten on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. the SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, John Tenney is back with another edition of the Paranormal Weirdo. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. On the digital side, we have Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have all of you joining us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ortonique. Ortonique is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. A good way to support this show is go get yourself a t-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, and so much more at our Spaced Out Radio store, and read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so much more. Len Kasten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is a researcher, longtime ufologist, and the author looking into the reptilian agenda. Len, we're so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Dave. I'm enjoying it very much.
Right before the break, Len, we were talking about a lot of leading up to the reptilian agenda, going through Eisenhower and running through the space program, and let's lead it up to today. How do we know this is really going on? How do we know that there is some universal alien force that is trying to control things on this planet?
Well, you know the easiest way to know that is to just look at the technology that the reptilians have on Mars and the Moon. Then you'll understand why we do not have that technology, not even a piece of it. The technology they have there, elsewhere in the solar system, is so fantastic, it's like almost miraculous, the things they can do. They can literally cure somebody who has their arm ripped off or a limb ripped off by putting them in what they call a regeneration tank, and they regrow the limb in a matter of perhaps a couple of days. That's the kind of thing that we could have here. And they have, of course, a free technology, free anti-gravity technology, free energy, all the things we would love to have here, which would do away with war, would do away with all kinds of things. But we can't have those. Why not? Because we don't run the show here. That's the bottom line. And the reason we know about those regeneration tanks is because of people like Randy Kramer, who you know, correct? And
yes.
all the super soldiers who have all told us the same thing about how that they have that biotechnology. And that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. We could have a paradise here on this planet if the reptilians were not in control. That's the point, and the main point that I want to make here. They do control us. Not only do they control us, but they do take batch consignments of humans underground, and they eat them and drink the blood. That's the kind of thing we're up against here.
What do you think about people like David Icke, who come on and are very public about the reptilian agenda and things about, that people like the Queen, Len, are only the age that they are? because they are reptilians hidden under human skin, much like the old television series V.
I know, that was quite a series of shows, television series. Look, I respect David Icke tremendously. He broke ground that everyone else was afraid to break, and he had to put up with a lot of ridicule, a lot of laughter, talking about the Queen being a reptilian. But, he stuck with it, and he was onto it. He was onto it before anybody else. And he was definitely, most of his material, I think, is absolutely valid. He did make some wild claims, I think, and some of the things I don't agree with him about have to do with religion. And but other than that, he was all alone out there with this story, way ahead of anybody else. Now, that took a lot of guts. He had to put up with that. He put his family at risk of the ridicule, everything. But he did his research and he wrote his books, and his books are very good, all of them. I've read 3 of them. And I have to say, I really admire what he's done. And he was onto it. He was onto the reptilian story, and it's a good thing he was, because he started the ball rolling. And I was very grateful to him when I started my research.
A lot of people, though, will look at that and say, okay, where's the proof? Where's the proof that, that the Queen or somebody along that ilk goes and puts on the fake human skin in order to be a part of it, in order to be a part of life?
I never came to a conclusion about that, about the Queen being a reptilian, but I will say that the reptilians can make themselves look like humans very easily through shape-shifting, and they know how to do that, and it's really a form of hypnosis in the eye of the beholder. A lot of it is. After reading what the aliens are doing on Mars and the Moon, I think anything is possible. Anything. So David went wherever it led him. He went where the information led him, and he didn't blink an eye. He just followed it. And that's the conclusion he came to. And I don't have all of his information. I don't know all of the reasons that he came to believe that the Queen was a reptilian. But I'm certainly open to the concept, and I respect his judgment. If he thinks it was the case, and he stuck with that for many years, more and more people online and in YouTube are beginning to see that people they thought were normal do have that certain cat-like eye that gives them away as reptilians. So I don't know. I'm open to it. I'm not convinced yet, but I admire everything David has done. And the only real difference of opinion I have has to do with Christianity. Now, I know David thinks the Christianity is a myth. It's a rehash of an old Egyptian religion, but I have a different viewpoint on that. I think that Christianity was brought here by the Federation for a good reason, because the reptilians needed it was a way to put the reptilians in check, philosophically speaking, and David doesn't go that route, but I'm convinced that it was true, and I wrote about that in my book, Alien World Order.
In hour number 2, we always like to bring in some audience questions from the chat room. Gail is asking, Len, how do you know all of this stuff? How have you been able to decipher this reality that many people looking through the history books have not seen?
Well, I've puzzled about that at length. I don't know the answer. I can only tell you this. I rely almost entirely on intuition. And wherever intuition leads me, that's where I start to study. And also, I seem to be good at connecting dots. The dots are out there. Somebody's got to connect those dots. And I've made it my mission to connect those dots. And then when I add in some intuitive, for instance, if I hear a fantastic story from one person, I put it away. Then when I hear that same fantastic story from 2, 3 others, people who I respect, I mark it as truth in my mind, if it agrees with my intuition. Because really, there's no way to underestimate the power of intuition. It's amazing. It truly is. And I fall down on that score frequently myself. I don't rely on it in many cases, but wherever I fail to rely on it, I realize I've made a mistake. So that's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. I've never had an experience with an extraterrestrial. I've never met one. And that's how I do my research.
Let's get to Steve's question here. And he's asking, Len, don't you worry about any reptilian repercussions by talking about this? Do you think they are listening?
I'm sure they're listening, but I don't care. I just go wherever it leads me. The same as David Icke, and the same as other researchers. That's all I can do. I'm only interested in the truth, and wherever that takes me, it takes me. Period. And I'll just put up with whatever negative aspects occur. But they've never bothered me, and who knows? I don't know why. They stay away from me.
You've never had the warning or been told you're going down a wrong path, like so many in this field claim?
No, I haven't. You know,
Let's
Go
ahead. Continue.
Once you get a college degree and get used to research, and that helped a lot. That helped me a lot.
Let's get to Michael's question, and he is asking, how do you figure out which stories are true and which are BS via your intuition?
I just given you the answer to that. If the intuition, if I put it all together and it comes out true, it's true as far as I'm concerned. Anyone who's looking for real proof in this field is crazy. There's no real proof, and you're not going to get any. Don't even bother thinking that you can apply the rules of proof and logic to this story. It's not there. You're not going to get it. So you've got to rely on intuition, on psychic impressions, and whatever else you can find that leads you to the truth. That's my opinion.
All right, continuing on here, Trip wants to know, when we talk about bases on the moon, which side of the moon are these alleged bases on?
Well, they've tried to keep them on the dark side, but they haven't been successful, and they've lapsed over into the bright side too. The left margin of the moon, the main base, the main moon base, lunar base, does come into the light side of the moon, but they're in a crater, and it's very hard to see anything that's going on in that crater. They have huge facilities on the moon, especially on the dark side, but also bordering into the light side, on the left side. So I'm sure a lot of our astronomers have already seen it, but they're not talking about it. A lot of it is their very first base on the moon that the Germans built on the moon was in a crater, I think it was in Mare Imbrium, and it had the shape of a swastika. The building was built as a swastika building. So anybody who had seen that would know that it was a German base, but nobody got reports. But we now know, thanks to people like Corey Goode and Dave Wilcock, that base was the first base they built on the moon.
I always thought that came from a movie.
What movie would that have been?
Oh, goodness. I would have to look it up. But I swear I recall seeing that in a movie.
What, a swastika-based building on the moon?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Hollywood people do get these stories and they get it right. And they're given this information. George Lucas was given the information. Roddenberry was given the information. Both of them had the whole story, especially Roddenberry. Star Trek is much more real than you would believe.
Let's move on to another audience question here. BTO is asking, Len, what have you learned if you've done research on the Lyran and Orion Wars? Was it the Reptilians or Pleiadians who destroyed Maldek during that war?
It was the Reptilians. The Reptilians attacked Lyra. Lyra was a peaceful human civilization, a peaceful agricultural, but they didn't have a lot of weaponry. They were not into weaponry, and they had very thin defenses. When the Reptilians got there, they slaughtered 50 million humans, and they destroyed 2 planets in Lyra. And that was the wake-up call for the human race in this galaxy, because that was the reason that the humans started investigating and getting space travel and cruising throughout the galaxy and finding places like this. That's how they got here, because they were refugees from Lyra. And, of course, the Draco have been a powerful empire for thousands of years. And in my first book, Alien World Order, I go into that in my first 2 or 3 chapters about their ancient history. Because David Icke never did that. He never went into their ancient history. But I was able to do that through an Indian, a book called Eden, book by Robert Morningsky. And that was the key to understanding where they came from and how they got here, and why they destroyed Lyra, why they destroyed those planets on Lyra. But see, the destructions on Lyra were the reason that we would not let them have this solar system. That's why the Martians came here, to defend this solar system in the first place. And that's why they landed on Atlantis. That's why they killed the dinosaurs to remove their food source and forced them underground. And they're still here underground. So the battle is not over yet. It still rages.
All right, continuing on. BTO also would like to know, do you think reptilians are lower fourth dimensional beings, and are all reptilians negative or dense? And weren't reptilians part of Sumeria? And were the gods of Egypt and or elsewhere?
The reptilians, what was first? Give me the first question again.
Do you believe they're fourth dimensional beings?
Yes, they are.
All reptilians are negative and dense.
They live in the fourth dimension mainly because, and that's why they're invisible to us and out of our perception. But they can always come into the third dimension when they want to, but it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of effort, and they don't want to do it all the time. But they can shapeshift, and they control the Illuminati from the fourth dimension. And that's why they can be invisible whenever they choose to be invisible. So they have that advantage over us. But the Atlans who came here and settled on Atlantis were humans. They were human beings from Mars who originated on Lyra. And they were on Lyra when it was attacked. And they were determined to wipe out the reptilians in this solar system. And they still are. But the reptilians did succeed in sinking Atlantis. And fortunately, many of the Atlanteans had advance notice that it was going to go down, and they did spread throughout the planet. And they founded mystery schools and schools to teach the secret history in the mountains, like in Asia and South America. And so that's where we find ourselves now. Fortunately, we got rid of the dinosaurs, but there is one race that we didn't get rid of. By the way, we didn't get rid of the raptors. The raptors.
I'm hearing more of this.
They're still around.
I'm hearing about these,
and they mostly are on the moon and Mars now. And the Germans. It was the Germans had to fight them because they're the ones that settled on the moon and Mars. And so they went through wars with the raptors.
I want to say thank you to a lot of our audience members. The movie I forgot to tell you where the swastika was on the moon was called Iron Sky.
Oh, really? How recently was that movie?
Oh, goodness. It's older.
Oh, okay.
It's older. You might want to check that out.
And it's
yeah, go ahead.
The building is shaped like a swastika?
Yes.
Okay.
Many believe that's where Corey Goode got the idea from.
Look, I don't think Corey Goode copied anything, frankly. I'm sorry. I think everything he tells us is original, and he's based on his own knowledge. I think that you can pretty much take to the bank anything Corey Goode says, as far as I'm concerned. I know that may not be entirely agreed to by many investigators, but it happens to be my opinion.
With Corey Goode, I mean, that brings up a caveat here. He got in some hot water late last year in regards to trying to copyright certain words like SSP, the blue avians, things like that. What was your opinion on that when he tried to do that? Because he took a lot of heat.
He agreed that he was part of the SSP. He was taken as a 20 and back. He was kidnapped, and so he was served on one of the SSP spaceships, the Arnold Sommerfeld, for 18 years, I believe. So why would he have to copy anything from anybody? He knew everything he had to know.
Well, he was trying to get the copyright so nobody else could use them without his permission.
Well, I've heard that story, but how true is that story? Do you know?
Well,
are you sure it wasn't an attempt to discredit him?
Well, Corey's the one who admitted that he was trying to do it, and then apologized and decided not to, on legal advice.
When he admitted it, what exactly did he say?
Along the lines that it was probably a mistake to do that. He understands that he upset a lot of people and chose not to do it.
Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's all that needs to be said. He tried it. And, okay. Almost everything he said, as far as I'm concerned, is original information. And he knows stuff that nobody else knows. And he's given a lot of that information to David Wilcock and to who's the other one that he's been dealing with? I can't remember his name now. The one that's done all of the investigation of the alien tissue. Emery Smith. And I think I very much admire anything Emery says as well. And he and Corey are in complete agreement on almost everything.
Amazing. You mentioned Mars, that humans originally inhabited Mars. When we look at the planet now, it looks very desolate from the photographs and the video that we have had from there. Do you believe, like Keith Laney, that there was a major nuclear explosion or some sort of nuclear holocaust up there that basically turned it into a dust bowl?
Yes, I do. What happened, according to Robert Morningsky, the Indian guru that I've mentioned before, is that what happened was the humans were the first ones on Mars. We were there before the reptilians. And we had a peaceful civilization on Mars. And we had a peaceful civilization on Maldek. And they were both humans who had escaped from Lyra. They were refugees from Lyra and their descendants. And then the reptilians came here to this solar system. And the first thing they did was they destroyed Maldek. They had the weaponry to do that. And it turned Maldek into a asteroid belt. The next thing they did was they went right by Mars and stripped a lot of the atmosphere off of Mars so that the human inhabitants on Mars had to go underground. And they basically turned Mars into a wasteland by that. So in other words, when they arrived here, those were the first two things they did, was to attack the humans in this solar system that way.
Len, I'm going to get you to hold on. We're going to step out for break here at the bottom of the hour. Len Kasten is our guest tonight on the Mighty SOR. We're going to talk more Mars, more reptilians, more of everything here on the Mighty SOR right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
And the music is on. Welcome back to the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you along for the ride as we continue on. Remember, a good way to support this show is to head on over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the shop tab, pick yourself up some swag, because you'd look good in one of our t-shirts, hats, hoodies, drinking out of one of our coffee mugs. Go get it today at the Spaced Out Radio store. Len Kasten is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking the Reptilian Agenda. You can get any of Len's books on Amazon. Highly suggest you check them out. Very, very good reads. Len, welcome back to the show.
Okay, nice to be here, Dave.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. Now, right before the break, we were talking about some audience questions in regards to everything from how you know this information to what is the agenda going on today. You were wanting to talk about the moon. We were just getting out of the whole Mars aspect, that life used to be there, but a nuclear explosion and a nuclear holocaust kind of wiped out life there. But you wanted to get back to the moon for a minute.
The point I wanted to make about the moon was this. When the reptilians came here originally, their spaceships were shaped like planets. They were very huge planets, and they could bring with them an entire plant and animal vegetation, everything inside the planet. And one of the first things they did when they got here was to bring with them the moon. They dragged it here from across the galaxy, which they had the power to be. Just imagine having that kind of technology and having that kind of capability. That's what we're up against here. They literally positioned the moon so they could use it as a way station for settling on Earth. And they brought the dinosaurs with them. And they use them as a food source. And that's where the moon comes from. And now people like Linda Moulton Howe are beginning to discover that. Linda just called it what did she say a week ago? That it was really a device. She said it was a machine. People are finally realizing what's happening with the moon. And that's how the Nazis were able to create their first base on the moon, which is now has become the Lunar Operations Command. They call it the LOC. And they control it. And it was from the LOC that they settled on Mars. So the reptilians had a lot to do with positioning the moon exactly where it is so that they could use eclipses as a time indication, because it became the exact size of our sun because of where they put it. And they have that technology. That's what we're up against here. Anyone who thinks that we can equal them or defeat them easily is mistaken. And that's why I wrote the book, Alien World Order.
How many governments of the world know this is going on? Is this a very popular agenda that when someone is elected to president or prime minister or chancellor, that they are told about this?
No. And I don't think Trump knows the story. He may have little pieces of it. I don't think Putin knows the whole story. He has pieces of it. None of them, they only know what the reptilians have decided to tell them and give them, because they're in control. The reptilians are in control of the revelation and of disclosure. So anyone who thinks they're not is making a big mistake. And so that's why I thought I needed to write about it in my first book. It needed to be brought out, exactly what we're up against, because the human race originated on this planet. We did not come from somewhere else physically. We settled here. We were created here about 50,000 years ago by the Federation. The Federation decided that they wanted us to control this planet, and they decided to do that by creating the race that we now call the human race. And it's gone through a lot of tweaks. It's gone through 21 tweaks, you might say, or adjustments in terms of our DNA. But we are today, what we call Homo sapiens sapiens, is basically a creation of our friends in the galaxy. They created us, and that's how we got here.
So with that, mankind is obviously a very young species.
Yes.
But that also then, with saying that we got here 55, 60,000 years ago.
Well, the humans that came here from Mars and settled on Atlantis, they were a whole different human race. They were what we would call pre-Adamic. I'm talking about the Adamic human race that we now call the Adamic human race is only about 50,000 years old. We go back to perhaps 10,000 years before Sumeria, but we're a very young race. But we have a big advantage over the reptilians. The human soul is not from this galaxy. That's another story that we can get into some other time. And that's what gives us our power, really. And that's the advantage we have over the reptilians, because the reptilians do not have a human soul, and they do not have things that we have. They do not have any heart chakra. They have no compassion. They have no empathy. All they know about is domination and conquest. So we have that advantage over them, and they know that. And in a lot of ways, they are afraid of us. So that's the ball game. That's where we are right now.
Does that not put into question the entire fact of creationism then?
Well, when you say creationism, what do you mean exactly?
God built the planet 7 days, 7 nights, rested on the seventh day, created man, Adam,
Yeah.
Eve.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Eve goes and bites the apple, and that ends up giving us the evil mother-in-laws in the end. A few thousand years later.
If you're talking about Genesis, are you talking about Genesis, that chapter?
Sure.
There's two different stories about Genesis in that chapter. One says male and female, he created them. And the other one says that about the Adam and Eve story. They're totally different. Totally different. If you believe one, you can't believe the other, that Eve was created from Adam's rib, because the other one says that the Elohim created us, male and female, and told us to go forth and multiply. They wanted us to multiply quickly because they wanted to make sure that we could confront the reptilians eventually. And the quicker we can multiply, the better. So which of those two stories are you going to believe? They're both in Genesis.
Well, if I put it on a personal perspective, knowing the way my former mother-in-law was, I definitely believe Eve ate the apple and turned everything evil.
No. That's a reptilian story. That's not the story. Male and female, he created them, and he created them equal, and that's the truth, I think. And that's why the reptilians didn't want that, because they are anti-feminine. They're misogynistic. They believe in male domination, and they didn't like the original story, so they changed it. That's my opinion. Of course, I don't have the final word, but that's the way I view it. So find those two different stories in Genesis, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
We can look into that. What about the other alien species? There are many people who have had ET contact, Len, who talk about there's some sort of consortium, up in space that has 11 or 15 different species that kind of rule the universe. Do you buy into that theory as well? And if you do, where would the role of the reptilians be in that?
The reptilians are another species in this galaxy. Robert Morning Sky thinks they came from a different galaxy. Nobody really knows where they came from. They just really appeared. And Morning Sky goes into it in great detail. He says they were descended from an insect. And in any case, they had a lot of this part of the galaxy to themselves for a long time. But the human race is now all over the galaxy. There are humans all over this galaxy now. But most of the human race that we know originated on Lyra. And but the Atlanteans, the humans that settled Atlantis, were from Lyra. They were not part of the creation on this planet. The human race that we call Homo sapiens sapiens, which is the Adamic Adam and Eve story, is not the same as the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans were far more advanced than we are, than we ever can become. They were very spiritual. They had tremendous technology. They had space travel. But when the continent went down, they were forced to create a diaspora, just like the Jews in Germany. They had to get out.
Right. I had a question earlier, and I apologize from which listener it's from, but they were asking in regards to Mount Shasta. There seems to be a lot of strangeness that happens around there regarding extraterrestrials, regarding intuition, psychic ability, people creating Zendras. What do you know about what's happening at Mount Shasta?
I think the underground civilization at Mount Shasta are pre-Adamic. I think they may have been from Mars. They may have been the same race that settled on Atlantis. I'm not sure. I do know they're very advanced. They have very high civilization down there. And it's not a civilization that began with Adam and Eve, which we call the Adamic. There are 100 generations from Adam to where we are now. And these early humans from other portions of the galaxy originally came from Lyra. And the Lyran diaspora, they went to Mars, they went all over the galaxy, and they settled here on Mars and Maldek. But the human race on this planet was created by extraterrestrials about 50,000 years ago.
Interesting. Very interesting. And in regards to that, with Mount Shasta, what's your opinion then? Is this where the crystal skulls come into play?
I've heard of that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that in great detail, but I do know that they're able to program those crystal skulls, and they have a tremendous amount of information in them. And I think Michael Tellinger is probably one of the authorities on that subject. I don't know very much about it, really.
No worries.
I do know that the aliens that came here from Serpo did have that technology, and they gave us examples of it. They gave us something called the Yellow Book, which was like a crystal skull because pictures would come right out of the book of scenes from distant eras, like thousands of years ago. And that was their gift to us when they came here, the Ebens, about the time of the crash at Roswell. So apparently that technology does exist.
I got a question in regards to Antarctica. There's a lot of mystery happening around there, whether there was Nazi bases, whether there is some sort of reptilian base down there. The flat earthers will say that it's, where the wall begins with the ice that's all spread around the big circle we live on. What's your thoughts of what's happening down there?
When Hitler made his deal with the reptilians in 1933, the reptilians already had a base under the ice at Antarctica, a very large one. So when Hitler sent a ship to Antarctica to explore it in 1938, a year before World War II started, he sent a ship across the Atlantic, 6,000 miles, loaded with scientists to go to Antarctica. Why would he do that? Why would he go to a frozen wasteland that he knew nothing about when he was only a year away from starting World War II with the invasion of Poland? That's the question I raised in my book. There's only one answer to that. That's because the reptilians invited him there, and they told him they would help him create a colony in Antarctica. That's the only reason he would have done that. You see what I'm saying?
So with the reptilians that are there, are they working with human scientists for whatever agenda it may be? What would they be working on?
With German scientists. They were the ones that invited the Germans there and helped them build their colony under the ice. And that became what's known as Base 211. So if you Google Base 211, you'll see what that's all about. That was the first German base in Antarctica. It was really a Nazi base. And it was the reptilians that helped them settle that colony. And that's where they started their trips to the moon and Mars, from Base 211. They had the technology to go there. They had the Hannibal craft that were anti-gravity. And so that's the reason they cared more about settling Antarctica than they did about World War II. I mean, why would they go to all the expense and trouble of sending all that technology across the Atlantic, 6,000 miles away, to settle a colony under the ice on a continent they knew nothing about? Think about it. And yet, that's what they did. That's what they did. And that became Base 211, and it was from Base 211 that they settled the moon and Mars. That's where those journeys originated. The South Pole.
So what do they plan on doing with all of this technology as humans continue to expand? There's about 7.5 billion people now on this planet. Does this lead into what we hear about the Illuminati and wanting to bring that number down to closer to 500 million to a billion people?
Well, according to the Georgia Guidestones, that is their goal. I think the Georgia Guidestone said that they want to bring it down to, what, 500 million?
Something like that.
Yeah. That question still remains, that they are going to be able to do that. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think we're getting too smart too fast now. We have tremendous technology that a lot of people don't even know about, and the reptilians can't stop us. We're just starting to really advance technologically, and it's going to be a struggle to the end. Right now, it's a stalemate as far as I'm concerned, because we have the connection to the higher realms, the fifth and sixth dimension. They do not. They dwell in the fourth dimension. They control the fourth dimension. They control the lower astral. But we go way beyond that. And Alex Collier, if you know anything about Alex Collier, he discusses that in detail, and he has a lot of information on that subject. I would recommend highly that you find anything by Alex Collier on the internet. So
definitely check into that.
Yes. They haven't won yet. They're way ahead of us, thousands of years ahead of us, technologically speaking. If they can recreate human limbs, and they can age regress people back to their childhood physically, which they can do, and they're doing that on Mars and the Moon, just imagine what kind of technology they have. We can't even dream about technology like that yet, but we're getting there.
Oh, we're still trying to reverse engineer it at places like Area 51 in Dugway.
Well, we do have the anti-gravity now, and Solar Warden fleet is anti-gravity, and they're able to travel beyond the solar system already. We can do that, and Ben Rich said that when he made his speech in 1989. He said we have the ability now to take ET home, and he said anything you can imagine we can already do. And if anybody would know that, it would have been him, because he was the president of the Lockheed Skunk Works. So he knew what he was talking about. And he died shortly thereafter. But we've already gotten beyond the solar system. We have. And we do have large craft, and Operation Solar Warden is starting to threaten the German rulership of the solar system. But they're still in charge. They own the moon and they own Mars. And they've turned Mars into a slave planet. No human goes to Mars unless they go as a slave. That's the situation right now. And I've covered that in my new book, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks. So that's where we are now.
Len, we only have you for one more minute here, as you're only with us for 2 hours tonight. I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio and hanging out with us and talking about the Reptilian agenda. Where can people find your books and get a hold of you?
Okay, all my books are on Amazon, so they're easy to find. They're all published by Inner Traditions, and they can be bought through the publisher, Inner Traditions, or Amazon, or in bookstores. You might find them in Barnes & Noble and other bookstores all around the country. As a matter of fact, 3 of my books have already been translated to German, of all things.
Nice.
and they're very popular in Germany. So figure that one out. And that's the best I can do, because my website is still under construction. I had my original website. I destroyed it, and I'm starting out with a new website. And once that's done, I'll be able to sell them off my website.
Len, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to have you, and we will definitely do this again, my friend.
It's been a pleasure, Dave. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Len Kasten, everybody. Once again, you can buy his books by going on to Amazon.com. Of course, we always suggest you support people on this show. Coming up next in hour number 3, was there a UFO landing the past few days in Washington State? Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper going to join us right after this, then the SOR Newswire, so much more. We'll be back.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, sky watches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017. Discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, let's get all weird. Yes, John Tenney, the paranormal weirdo, is back. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial stations, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and thanks for listening on New Orleans, UPRN 107.7 FM. On the digital side, we have Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, or Tanique. Or Tanique is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. It's a great way to support what we do here, and you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. We want to say a big thank you to Len Kasten for coming on the first 2 hours of the show, but here in hour number 3, we're going to get to, well, you could call it a little bit of breaking news from Forest Moon Paranormal. We have Eric Cooper coming on the show. Eric, welcome back.
Hey, always good to be here, Dave. Always good to be here.
Always good to have you with us as well. Now, the last few days have been very interesting for your team in regards to ufology. What happened out there?
So I got a phone call from a random person here locally. She's probably about 45 minutes away. Said she had a UFO landing site. And, well, we don't get landing sites too often that I hear about. And so I'm taking the team out potentially on Thursday to check out her pictures and set up some security cam and whatnot. See if we can't catch some lights in the sky. So this particular spot is on the radar quite a bit for UFO sightings. And the client was seeing these lights in the sky for about 2 weeks. And she was hearing them as well, kind of like a vibration or a humming noise. And she got fed up, and she said, you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. Show me some evidence. And she got this voice in her head, and probably more like a thought form. But heard this voice say, "Oh, you want evidence? We'll give you some evidence." Well, she went to bed. She woke up in the morning and went out to her car, and lo and behold, on the trunk of her car was a polished circular spot on the trunk of her car. And again, I need to see the pictures, but 3 little landing marks. And she said you could actually put your finger on it, and your fingerprints wouldn't show up. It was almost like someone polished a circular spot on the trunk of her car. And she said it was there for a few hours and poof, gone. So they showed her evidence, and evidence was gone, other than pictures. So I need a Geiger counter. We don't have one on the team right now. So I can get some radiation trace evidence, if there is any kind of EMF readings. Take a look at the pictures, get some copies of the pictures, get some more witness statements. And interesting thing is, this is a very small community, a small mountain community. And there's a lot of witnesses to these lights in the sky. And they go west to east and head for the mountains. So hopefully they'll have some more information by the weekend. But interesting, to say the least. There's all kinds of activity going on up here.
So in that 2 weeks that she was having these encounters, was anything reported around to the police? Was anything reported to Peter Davenport, whom you through Michael W. Hall work with, outside of yourselves? Was there anything going on? Were there other witnesses?
As far as her neighbors, yeah, her neighbors saw the same lights, but I don't think anything was reported to anybody, because according to her, the neighbors don't talk. The community doesn't talk about it. So what I want to do, too, in the next couple of weeks is either get with the fire department and set up a meeting hall and advertise to the community that if they want to come and talk about their experiences, kind of do like a UFO 101 presentation real quick, and see if we can get anyone to talk about it.
What kind of craft was she seeing up in the sky?
So this sounds like it was one of the orb craft, and there's a lot of these orb lights that, and even Megan was talking about it in Darrington. These are the same orb lights and the same kind of orb that was seen in the woods when Steve, our drone operator, and he's going out with us too, as a matter of fact. I'd like to get the drone up in the air with FLIR and see if we can pick anything up when we go out there on Thursday. But what he described was like an orb that was about 10 feet in the air that was coming through the trees and was coming toward his kids. Same kind of craft. Now, is it kind of like a scout vehicle? That would be it's obviously intelligently controlled. But sounds like they're the orb craft. Again, I'll have more details by the weekend. But it sounds like there's multiple witnesses out in that community, and curious to get more details.
Obviously, that is very interesting. How often does your team get called about landings? Because I'm sure you get called about a lot of lights in the sky, but when it comes to landings, that's a different ballpark, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely. We get excited about landing cases. This will be the first local landing case that we've got. I mean, I've had clients in the UK and whatnot talk about landing sites, but not much we can do about them because I can't just jump in an airplane and fly to the UK. But yeah, no, this would be the first. And what's interesting is this is what you would call a CE5, or a close encounter of the fifth kind, where you can actually intelligently communicate and they actually respond. Because, I mean, she told them, show me evidence, and pretty much responded back with, "Oh, okay, you got it," and here we go. So,
do we know what kind of ET species has been around your area recently? Have there been any reports of greys being encountered, reptilians? What do we got going on?
That I'm not sure yet either, because I haven't even had a chance to talk to Cayce, because I usually consult with Cayce about the craft type and whatnot and who flies it. The grays you normally have with the abductions, I don't think she's been abducted. I'll get a little more deeper into that when we do a face-to-face with her, because talking over the phone, I don't like talking abduction right off the bat. And so, yeah. And again, this just happened yesterday. So it's really fresh. And I'll be giving her a call back tomorrow to try to lock in a time to go out there.
Is this the type of person, when you were chatting with her, when that call comes in like that, is this the type of person who has seen multiple UFOs over the years, is someone who is a first-time contactee with things like this going on? And why did it take, after 2 weeks of having these experiences, to finally reach out to you?
I think having a landing site, or having one land on the trunk of her car, was the catalyst. And yeah, I get the impression that this is an individual that's been seeing lights in the sky for probably a number of years.
So when you are investigating something like that, how do you go about proving or disproving that this situation actually happened? Because I think for a lot of us out there who've never had anything like this happen, and that would be the majority of us, to be blunt, we look at things like this as being a little bit peak woo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Looking at this, that these, how do these experiences even happen? And how often are they happening? You're saying that you haven't really investigated much of these, if at all. So how rare is this occurrence?
For actual landing cases, very rare. But, if you look at Newport, I believe it was back in January, they actually had an entity case in Oregon where there were witnesses that saw actual entities walking down the highway. Now, we jumped into 2019 with a bang. There's been multiple, I think, to be honest, more UFO activity in the first 3 months of the year than you see quite often in the first half of the year. So I do have a theory that because of the escalating nuclear threats, you got Russia that came out with all these locations that they've threatened to target. We all know in the UFO field that you start bringing up nuclear or any kind of a planetary threat, you'd start piquing the interest of off-worlders. And just a hunch, Jim Creek Naval Facility here in the mountains of Washington is one of the target spots for Russia. And it just so happens that's where a lot of the UFO activity is increasing. The location we're going is probably about 45 minutes from Jim Creek. Darrington's about 30 minutes from Jim Creek. All these spots that are seeing high activity are a really good proximity to where this location is. So just a hunch. I don't have any validation for it, but it just makes sense.
How does your team... Go ahead, please.
Well, when it comes down to investigating, one, we're going to be doing an intense, interview with a witness. Maybe talk to a couple neighbors, see if they've seen anything. Get some baseline readings for EMF, see if EMF picks up anything. Take some photographic, do some aerial, see if there's any other landing sites that can be seen from above versus, ground level. And just look for anything, anything anomalous that seems out of place. Then we'll set up some cameras, see if we can't get some, night vision, some night video as well of any other lights that might come into the area. Leave those cameras up for about 48 hours and pick them up, check for evidence. But that's how we go about doing an investigation of that sort.
You must have read my mind, because that was the question I was actually going to be asking you. So thanks for that. Appreciate that.
I want to find a way, and this is where we need experimental equipment. I'd like to find a way to be able to record, do an audio recording. I might even actually try a spirit box and see if rulers will communicate through it. But what I would like to figure out is, some experiencers talk about hearing a vibration or hearing a hum. How could you pick that up with audio? You have to be in a certain frequency.
I would agree with that. Question from Trip in the chat room. He is asking, does it seem more sightings are occurring during solar flares? Has anybody on your team looked into solar flare and sightings happening about the same time? He always writes a boot. I think he wants me to read that. Is that a shot at my Canadianism right there? I'm thinking so.
I think so.
Let me read this as the Canadian. Does it seem more sightings are occurring during a solar flare? Has anyone looked into solar flare and sightings happening about the same time? Seems easier to hide from radar during a solar flare.
But you got to end it with A.
A? Yes. A?
Yeah.
I'll let you get to it.
So solar flares, and whenever the scientists have taken pictures of flare eruptions on the sun and whatnot, they have picked up anomalies. They have picked up UFO craft. As far as on the ground reports, I have not seen a rise in them based on that. But again, there is no set pattern of time of day, of weather per se, or not that I've noticed.
When you are looking into this case, so in this lady's case that called into you guys, I would assume one of the first things you're doing is telling her not to wash her car. But your area also gets a lot of rain. Do you get her to put the vehicle in the carport or the garage so that way there's no elemental tampering with it?
No, I didn't, because of the fact that it's already gone. And when it comes to radiation, or trace evidence like that, it's not going to wash away.
How long does it usually last?
The radiation can last for years. But just trace a good week or two. So we're safe when it comes to going there in 2 days.
Okay, so when you go looking into that, do you bring like a black light or something? Because any type of ET contact always seems to have a glow to it under a black light.
I don't have a black light, but that's a good idea.
You should get one. See,
I need to.
I'm helping you. I'm helping you out right there.
Well, that's why we all work together. There is no one set. Nobody has all the darn answers. So yeah, we need to get a black light for sure. But we do have a drone with FLIR.
Question about the drone from Joe, who is asking, when you're doing your drone with infrared, are you also looking for Bigfoot as well as orbs?
Oh, we always are. That's just a given. Just a given.
A lot of people will say
anything seen from above is always, we'll pick it up if it's visible.
A lot of people will look at this and say, if this happened, if this truly happened, why weren't the local officials called, or why hasn't this been on the local media? When you get questions like that, how do you respond to
that? You know what? I've had 5 UFO reports of my own, and none of them have been reported. And I'd have to say, out of all the reports you've got that come in, there's at least 100 that haven't been. Who's going to call law enforcement or officials over? No, people just don't. There's so much ridicule, even with the media and their acceptance or their seeming acceptance of UFO activity that's going on. No, you still got immense ridicule. So most people won't. They just like our client said, her neighbors won't even talk about it. So that's how I answer that.
Gail in the chat room says, I don't say a boot, I say a boat. And here I'm saying, I say about. Not a boot, not a boat, about. My accent's getting ripped tonight.
And I got to tell you, I was talking to Mike Moore the other day, and our Paracon is almost an entire Canadian crew.
Well, you got me coming down there to speak on September 28th. You got Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. You got R. Keith Andrews, resident woo expert.
And we have Jason, Mike's Bigfoot guy from Haunted Crew of Canada.
Right. Oh, you're bringing him in this year. Yeah, Jay's a good guy. Why don't you, since we only got about just under 2 minutes, why don't you tell everybody about the Paracon coming up in September if they want to plan a trip up to the Northwest into Cascadia?
So, September 28th, and I don't have all the details because we're still ironing them all out, but I can tell you this. We're going to have a ghost walk at Northern State Dairy Farm.
Nice.
So, be watching for the updates on the website, www.fmparacon.com. Right now, you can see what happened last year because we haven't updated anything yet. But we are doing our normal roundtable. We're including a ghost walk, ghost tour, led by Mike Bourne. We have what's his name? Ross Allison. We have him penciled in. We can't lock him in, definitely, because of the contracts he's got with universities. You can get called at a moment's notice. But we're hoping to have him in for the afternoon. He'll be the only American speaking.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that. You're not going to have Michael W. Hall speaking this year.
No.
Son of a gun. Only 4. Well, there's only 4 speakers?
No, there's 5 with Ross.
Ross? Oh, yeah. He'd be your token American down there. Go figure.
Yep.
The Maple Leaf will be waving proud in Cedro Woolley.
Yep. And we're actually doing workshops this year as well. We're going to have a Bigfoot gifting site workshop, how to set up a Bigfoot gifting site, how to properly cleanse and shield yourself and protect yourself from the paranormal.
Wonderful.
And a drone display.
Hey, Coop, do you want to stick around for the news?
Sure, I can do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I can do that.
Eric Cooper's going to stick with us for the SOR News Wire and the Thought of the Day. More Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in this supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on the mighty SOR. And it's around this time we get to the SOR Paranormal News of the Night from the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. We got Eric Cooper still with us from Forest Moon Paranormal, and all of our news taken care of by our news director, Captain Shirk. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show to get into the weird, the wacky, the WTF. And boy, do we have some doozies tonight. Joining us, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Coop, the beard's growing well?
It is. It is.
Well, we like a good beard. I saw a great goatee in town today. Great goatee.
A goatee?
Yeah. It was about 7-8 inches of hair.
Wow.
Rolling down the chest. Looked fantastic. I actually stopped the dude and I said, dude, that's a great goatee. Fantastic goatee. He lit up like a Christmas tree that I was acknowledging this fantastic mane of goat. He shook my hand and said, thank you, brother. Thank you. We all stick together on a good beard, my friend. We all stick together. Hey, right before the break, the reason why I want to bring you back in here is you were talking about your Paracon, the Forest Moon Paracon, the 4th annual event, September 28th in Cedar-Woolley, Washington State. And you were talking about there are going to be some workshops going on.
Yes. You want me to go into them?
Yeah, that would be kind of the point.
Okay, there you go. So we are doing, Bigfoot is a theme for this year. We're going to be doing themes every year. It's like, it doesn't completely take over all the speakers and whatnot, but we're going to be focused on Bigfoot T-shirts and the Bigfoot photo booth and whatnot. And, next year it might be Mothman or, Black-Eyed Kids, or there's going to be a theme for every year. So with that, we have our Bigfoot speaker this year. We have and we have a workshop on where do you set up a Bigfoot gifting site, what you put in a Bigfoot gifting site. Basically focused on gifting sites. Then we're going to have Chris from the extended care team go into grounding, shielding, how to properly cleanse your home, how to do paranormal protection, essentially. Then we have Steve, our drone operator. He's going to have his drone out. He's going to show what the FLIR camera looks like and go into how drones enhance the paranormal field and why they're an asset, basically. And, fly it around the city and fly it over the Paracon. But we're growing, we're getting bigger, we're getting better every year. So,
awesome.
this year, we're going to have different, it is going to cost $10 to get in. But,
cheap.
Oh yeah. And if we're going to offer a VIP pass, which will get you your admission, it'll get you a goodie bag, it'll get you your VIP round table, it'll give you all the workshops are free anyway, but it will get you into the Ghost Walk. The Ghost Walk alone will be $30.
Perfect.
So
perfect. Well, let's get to the news here, my friend, because I know we will have you on quite a bit before Paracon in September, and we'll learn more about it as it goes on. But let's get to it. Now, I know you're not a drinker, Coop. You like your coffee instead of your beer.
Exactly.
But we're going to get into a beer story. Where's my mind? Good facial hair. Fake alcohol they're coming out with. I don't know if I agree with this because, there are certain things that you just shouldn't tamper with. Should not tamper with. So now they're talking about creating a beer that gets you buzzed, but you never get drunk.
What's
Number
the
one,
point?
I don't. I guess it's like having non-alcoholic beer, but at least you get feeling kind of pleasant. So that's what they're trying to create. Is scientists are working on creating a pleasant buzz without getting wasted. It requires apparently a very careful calculation. Throw back one too many cocktails. Of course, you may be finding something that you shouldn't be finding, doing things you shouldn't be doing, and especially saying things you shouldn't be saying while under the influence. And apparently, this new beer, according to scientist David Nutt, David Nutt, good name for trying to create this and ruin beer. Well, he claims his creation has the potential to allow drinkers to enjoy all the benefits of alcohol with none of the drawbacks, meaning it could end everything from hangovers to alcohol-related cancers. Okay, now he's winning me over. As I've got older, and I don't drink often, I really don't. But every now and again, old Davey likes to tune it on up, shall we say. Once, maybe twice a year maximum. But you know what I've developed over the last few years is the 2-day hangover. That's why I drink very little. Like the last 7-8 years, I've been getting like these 2-day hangovers if I do drink. I don't know if it's because I don't drink often, if at all. Like I can't even tell you the last time I had a beer. I know the last time I had some Fireball was about a week ago. I had one shot of Fireball, but that doesn't count. It's Fireball. It's cinnamon.
No, it's Fireball. Yeah.
Anyways, scientist Nutt says we know where in the brain alcohol has its good effects and bad effects and what particular receptors mediate that. GABA, glutamate, and others such as serotonin and dopamine. The effects of alcohol are complicated, but you can target parts of the brain you want to target.
So I wonder, can you still get pulled over for DUI?
I would say On a breathalyzer, you probably could.
I would think. Because you can get a DUI. You can get a DUI for cough syrup. It's driving under the influence.
Exactly.
But would it be but could you be intoxicated? I guess is the point.
Who knows? Global drinks analyst Johnny Forsyth, another good name, thinks there's a solid chance the alcohol industry could actually embrace the product rather than see it as new competition. He says the industry is increasingly investing in alcohol alternatives. If the science is right and if it's easy to mask the taste, I think they got a great chance. I don't know if I'm promoting this or not. We're moving on to story number 2. Another win for Canada. And I'm looking at my flag right now in the SOR headquarters. The biggest Tyrannosaurus Rex specimen ever found. They found a leg bone, my friend. And when they added it to what everything would add up to in a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton, 19,500 pounds in life.
Wow.
Now, this was unveiled in the anatomical record last week. Consists of a skeleton that's about 65% complete. They've nicknamed it Scotty the Tyrannosaur. And they figured it lived up until the age of 28, 68 million years ago. The Canadian landscape Scotty was on was a subtropical coastal paradise, but life was no vacation. Apparently, there was a lot of dinosaur brawls at this point. See, this is where us Canadians, we learned how to drop the gloves. Because when we were that subtropical coastal paradise back then, we didn't have to wear the gloves. But as we got colder, we put gloves on our hand, and when we wanted to fight in hockey, had to drop the gloves.
Mm-hmm.
It all started with the dinosaurs and this Tyrannosaurus Rex, man.
Might be in Jurassic Park.
Tell me about it. The bones were dug up in the province of Saskatchewan. So we got a few listeners out there. The Ukrainian watermelon and Rana are going to like that. I'm sure it was wearing a Rough Riders jersey, something green, probably a watermelon on its head.
Yep.
Weird people there. Postdoctoral researcher from the University of Alberta, Scott Person, says it would not surprise him that the animals turn out to increase in range and body size, potentially to overlap or even surpass what we know as the T-Rex. Yeah, there's some big, big dinosaurs, man. Big dinosaurs out there. It has taken more than 2 decades to come to grips with Scotty's remains. They're finally putting it together. 19,500 pounds. Let's move on to another story. The old flat earthers, Coop. The old flat earthers. Yeah, the Flat Earthers Cruise is going to take place in 2020, where the Flat Earth International Conference recently announced that they are going to take a cruise ship to try and find the edge of the Earth. Now, details about the event, including dates, they're still forthcoming. But they say, damn it, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're going to find the edge. We want to see the ice wall.
Oh. Who's funding this?
Well, that's always a very, very good question. Not really released. I'm sure they're going to be, if you're wanting to be on that cruise, you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg. For sure.
Right.
But nonetheless, they believe that the Earth is a pancake-like disk with the North Pole smack in the center and an edge surrounding all sides by an ice wall that holds the oceans back. This ice wall, thought by some flat earthers to be Antarctica. There's There's just one catch. Navigational charts and systems that guide cruise ships and other vessels around Earth's oceans are all based on the principle of around Earth, says Len Kasten, a former cruise ship captain with 23 years of experience. I wonder if they've thought about that yet. Kaiser goes on to say, had the Earth been flat, a total of 3 satellites would have been enough to provide this information to Earth. But it's not enough because the Earth is round. Even the cruise ship they're going to be going on is talking about a global Earth. My goodness. Chase Klutsky from MUFON, we broke the story yesterday saying, well, actually, Erica Lukes broke the story, and then we were able to carry it on, that Chase Klutsky stepped down as Director of Investigations for MUFON. However, a couple of quotes from her today as she spoke about this. We were able to put a story up on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on the news side. She said, the state directors and field investigators of MUFON deserve someone who can give them 100% attention and support. DOI was my dream position, and I loved it. However, the other interests and work in D.C. that I also find myself enjoying a lot is a bigger priority for me at this time. There was no backdoor with Jan Harzan. There was not an ugly exit. In fact, Jan, his wife, and Pete and I, so Pete's her husband, just returned from an awesome speaking MUFON cruise this past weekend. That was epic. Jan Harzan goes on to state that he says congratulations to Chase. He gladly accepted her resignation. She will remain in MUFON, which she has done for over 20 years. And it's pretty much case closed. Now, Klutsky leaves with a little bit of speculation as to what's going on. And this all leads back to some very public complaints by former MUFON Indiana state head Philip Leach, who publicly accused her of bullying and giving an alien implant to the Stars Academies, Lou Elizondo and History Channel, for their 6-episode series on UFOs that's coming up. Now, MUFON has denied that. What Klutsky's new role in MUFON, we don't know as of yet. And finally, Coop, all the toad lickers are going to like this one. Thousands of poisonous baby toads have been reportedly overrunning a Florida suburb, and residents are fed up because their pools, their toilets, their garden ponds are filled with poisonous frogs. Wow. Thousands of them, tens of thousands of them. Literally, they are counting in the Palm Beach area billions of frogs that are poisonous. They're saying keep pets and children away because if they go licking, they're probably going to get some sort of bad infection. Some major breeding of the frogs, yes. Major breeding. They are everywhere. Don't touch the frogs if you're in Florida. Let's get to the thought of the Dave, shall we?
All right.
I like the thought of the Dave, man. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation. Today's Thought of the Dave, Coop, we'll start with you. What's your honest thoughts about the reptilian agenda here on Earth? What do you think, Coopster?
You know what? There's so many theories that have been thrown around out there. I don't think there's an agenda per se. Just my opinion. I think they're a very negative. They're a negative race. Yes, they work with the Greys. They're a very dominant warrior type race, but there's many different reptilian races. So, which reptilian race are you talking about? Would be the question. But yeah, they're. But is there an agenda? I don't think so.
Me either. Well, let's get a couple of comments in here. On Twitter, Ed says, shapeshifter infiltration of society is BS. If they shape change, they wouldn't be long-term permanent individuals in our society. There are good ones and bad ones like the Greys. They are particularly frightening to humans and therefore get a bad rap. That's my guess, he says. Let's move on here. Gabe, definitely not in our best interest. Chris, it's called the television show V. Google it. Autumn, are reptilians of the devil? Catherine, no, they don't exist. That's so negative. So negative, Catherine. Ben, pure fiction, promoted by talking heads on Ancient Aliens. MJ Benias, former guest on this show. Listen, I think we need to start putting this racial bias to rest. I believe in civil rights for the reptilians and all aliens for that matter, whether they are blue or gray or whatever. They just want a safe place to live. Why should judge not by the color of their scales or feathers, but by the content of their character? Aliens are people, too. There is no agenda. I'm tired of this segregation and human supremacist BS you promote, Dave Scott. Wow. Wow. That is the greatest place to leave the thought of the Dave. And we want to say you can catch all of our news at the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com. Click on the news tab. All of our news brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Coop, thanks for stomping on in hour number 3.
Anytime.
All right, you keep that beard growing. We also want to say a big thank you to Len Kasten for coming on in, talking about the reptilian agenda in the first 2 hours of the show. Tomorrow night on the program, get ready for it. He comes in every 2 months. The man, the myth, the paranormal weirdo, John Tenney is back. And you know his stories are going to be absolute gold. Gold, Jerry, gold. Because that's whom he is. That's why he's one of the top paranormal investigators in North America and the world. 9 p.m. Pacific. Make that 9:06 if you really want to tune in on time. 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms on Spreaker, Rev Radio, and, of course, the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook, on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thanks for doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night. See you tomorrow.